Hello there. I'm Scotty. You're not. And, I was warned about 2000s horror. People said 2000 horror just sucks. But you get hits like The Ring and The Grudge. And, Darkness Falls wasn't that bad. Stay Alive was okay. But then you got stuff like Shredder and Venom. And this film here, Cry Wolf, which is, it's not bad. Like Venom and Shredder were bad. But this was, I like Shredder for what it was, I guess, but I found it hokey. But this was just, it's confusing, and the ending, that you're sitting there going, wait, what? Huh? Imagine the 1980s classic horror film, April Fool's Day, right? But it's not a remake, it's something else. Keep in mind, about 3 years later, they would actually do a remake of April Fool's Day, and from what I've seen of that, this might actually be better than that piece of crap, piece of trash. But at least there are some characters you kind of like in this, whereas that one you care about those rich snobs. Anyway, I was surprised to find that Cry Wolf was directed by Jeff Wadlow. Now, he's the same guy who gave us Kick-Ass 2, which I have, but didn't want to dig out of my superhero comic book collection movies. The Truth or Dare, which has an ending that is so frustrating it makes you want to jump out the window. Fantasy Island, which I've rewatched a few times and actually don't mind it. The twist is still confusing and makes, starts to unravel if you really think about it, but it's fine. And quite strangely, the best out of anything I've seen from him, Are You Afraid of the Dark? Curse of the Shadows. This might actually be the best of the three that they come out with. I'm still waiting. If you're wondering, hey, where's the review for Ghost Island? Well, actually, it's on DVR, so I can watch it with my son again, but I'm waiting for the DVD. That's what I did with the other two. Wait for the DVD. Well, actually, the first one, I did all 3 parts. Which, this was 6 parts, and then the other one was 4 parts. I'm waiting for the DVD to be released. Supposedly, it's coming out at some point. August or July, it's coming out. It's taking a while. Over a year to come out. I don't know. But this was actually very well done. And I was worried because when it said Jeff Wadlow popped up on there, I'm like, oh shit. This is going to suck. But actually, it was the best one, I think. Although the new one did have some twists and turns that I can remember. It's been so long. By the time the DVD does come out and I'll watch it, I'll probably be surprised as to what's going on. But anyway, yeah, so if you look at the resume of this guy. Oh, and Kick-Ass 2, I remember being okay. I didn't like the fact, spoilers by the way, that Jim Carrey was like a focal point of the trailers because they're trying to sell the film, and he really doesn't do much in the movie itself. And also, I watched this with my friend who had seen it before, and then I checked to see if there was a post-credit scene. I won't spoil what it is. He's like, no, there's nothing there. And I fast forwarded, and there was. It's like, no. And I never made another one anyway. So, Cry Wolf follows Owen, who is a new student at this prep school. And he meets a group of friends. And they come up with this game called Cry Wolf, where you sit in chapel and you basically, the shepherd who's in charge marks one of them as the secretly marks one of them as the wolf, and so they have to go around and they have to guess to see which one it is. And if you're the wolf, you have to basically lie your ass off to try to make sure they don't think you are, and they have to try to figure out who it is. And where they guess, whether they're wrong or not, that person has to leave once they guess, and they have to show, they mark you, so you have to flip up your shirt or whatever. Yeah. And so upon this, they decided to take the game school-wide by pretending there's a killer when they find out that a student was killed, they decide to prank this entire school by saying that there's a killer and it's coming after them and stuff like that. But it turns deadly when the messages are directed towards Owen and the others are supposedly being hunted down, and so yeah. So this movie has some names in it. Now the first guy we're talking about here is Julian Morris. He plays Owen. Never heard of him. This is the one guy. He looks kind of like, if you look at him, he looks kind of like Scotty from Eurotrip, but it's not him because that was played by Scott Minkowski, I think his name was. And you have Lindy Booth, who I know from the famous Jake Jackson and The Librarians, and she's been in some other horror movies, Wrong Turn, you know, so she's been around. She's a Canadian actress, you know. And then you have John Bon Jovi. Yeah, he's acting in this movie as a teacher named Rich Walker. Interesting character. And then there's an actress who I know from Power Rangers. She was Kendall in Wild Force for a couple episodes. And she plays a character here. It's very weird because Power Rangers Wild Force came out in 2002. And she was playing an adult. And now it's 2005 and she's playing a teenager. Also, when Owen is talking to one of his schoolmates, he mentioned that he called them about he filed a nose complaint. He goes, "Why'd you do that for?" And he's like, "Well, you guys are making noise up there. It sounds like the WWF up there." This was made in 2005, right? By then, it was the WWE. I mean, for like 3 years then. Never. We also have Gary Cole as Owen's father. And Owen is British. And instead of trying to teach the British actor to do an American accent, they had Gary Cole do a British accent. And to his credit, he is actually pretty good. He doesn't get much of a role. He's a neglected father. He doesn't answer phone calls. Only shows up when something happens at the end. But, you know. Oh, there's one more to read. Jared Padalecki. Yeah, Jared Padalecki is in this thing. Sam. Basically, his name is Tom, which that makes both actors played a character named Tom in different horror movies. Jared Padalecki was Tom here, and Jensen Ackles, almost called him Dean. Jensen Ackles was Tom Hanniger in the My Bloody Valentine remake, which came out in 2009, so also counts as a 2000s horror movie. And you can say there are remakes. There's a lot of remakes. Texas Chainsaw Massacre was a good remake. Friday the 13th is a good remake. I say The House of Wax is decent. The Hitcher was okay. But anyway, yeah, so like I said, he gets there and he meets Dodger. Yeah, that is her name. Although after the events of this movie, I'm doubting that's even her real name. But basically, well, we actually start with this one girl's murder. Jennifer, or whatever her name is. She's murdered. We barely see it. Now, I was not surprised to find that this was originally PG-13. This is the unrated cut. Rated for what I don't know. There's barely an F-bomb. I think there is even one. What hurts me is finding out this was Jeff Wadlow and seeing this again, knowing he can do good stuff. Like I said, this is probably his best work, and it's done very well. Some of the stuff in here is okay, although the Snapchat filter face was not one of them. And there's even some decent horror sequences in this. But this is just... ugh. And it's dated. I mean, it's dated. They're on IM, first of all. Instant Messenger. Nobody uses that now. We got text, we got Facebook, we got Facebook Messenger, Twitter, and all that stuff. That dates it. And the phones they're using kind of look like this. Keep in mind, this is a air conditioner remote. So they kind of look like this. He's going through to temperature. But yeah, it's 69. Like that. 69. Anyway, back down to 67. Anyway, 68. Whatever. Whatevskis. So, yeah. So they set up this whole thing. They meet each other, they play this game, and then they're like, no, we don't want to play this game anymore. She's like, so are we going to play again before the Halloween break, which apparently they go on break after Halloween. Or is it just like on the weekends they leave? I guess. I don't know. But they know we don't want to play that game anymore. And I do wish there was more instances of them playing a game. We get one session of them playing a game, which they're sitting around in a circle doing this, and it seems like it took exploration for another movie. Yeah, they sit around in a circle in an abandoned, was it a church or something? Something, inspiration for that. But so the characters are a little more like one here, some of them. But yeah, he meets these others. Dodger, played by Lindy Booth, and you have Lewis, actor I don't know. Regina, actress I don't know. Mercedes, actress I don't know, but it's the Kendall actress. And then you have Graham, who's actor I don't know, and another guy named I'm just gonna call him Dweebus, because I can't remember his name, but you have Dweebus, another actor. I thought it was Shane Kibble from Degrassi, but it's not. Although he does look kind of like him, but Dweebus here. Randall. I remember his name, so you're not Dweebus anymore, but I should still call him Dweebus. I might interchange, but Randall. And then you have Tom, who is Jared Padalecki's character, and Owen. Duh. And they're playing a game, right? Everybody's leaving one on one, whatever. One by one. Did we ever find out who the wolf is? Was it him? I think I missed that. I was making my tacos. Okay, actually, my tacos, when I was eating my tacos, I was getting more. Whatever. And so they decide they're going to, spread it throughout the entire school. So they set up where there's this killer, after they find out that the girl was murdered. Killer, and the girl was killed with a gun, but they have this guy going around with a hunting knife. He's got an orange ski mask on, and he's wearing camo and stuff, and he's going around, apparently. And then it starts to get serious, They need to be in stock. The IMs are threatening them, that sort of thing. Their stuff is getting damaged. And to put it this way, all this stuff that's happening to them could be considered like a prank type thing. Like Tom's stuff gets smashed up. The IM messages could be pranky. Someone's following them in the library or what he calls the stacks. I don't know. And his backpack goes missing, but then Tom finds it. And so you're sitting here, and if you go into this, it's not a whodunit. Not really in the way you think. You're sitting here trying to figure out who the killer is. And when people start to drop, like flies towards the end of this film, you're starting to figure out who is doing it. And it's leading you in one direction. But I implore you, whatever direction it's leading you in, do the opposite. You have to look in plain sight, because there is a wolf in sheep's clothing. And I'm saying this now, before you get into the end of this review. If you have not seen it, stop here, because I'm going to start to spoil shit like a lot more than I am already, okay? And I implore you, go into this with the least information, because if you think it's a whodunit, you're going to have my experience. Because I went in thinking it was a whodunit. So go in with that mindset and you'll have my experience. Because my experience was fucking kooky, man. Okay? So I'm in here trying to figure out who it is. I'm trying to, I'm thinking a slasher flick, right? Whodunit, slasher flick, like Scream. You're trying to figure out who is doing this stuff, right? And then it turns on its head at some point. You know what I mean? So eventually there's a whole thing. So something I missed is that he's a janitor too, By the way, this is the thing with the janitor. They keep cutting to this janitor, and I'm thinking, are they trying to imply he's the killer? And it keeps going. The payoff is not what you would think, because they keep pointing to this janitor, and the janitor is revealed to be Dodger's dad. Now, obviously, the way they kept panning to him, you're supposed to believe he's the killer, because they keep panning to him. And on the night where everything is fucked up, Owen is the one doing the janitorial work, and he's not around. Like, you see him here and there. And then it's revealed that he's Dodger's dad, and that was the payoff to them always panning to him was, nope, he's not the killer, he's Dodger's dad. So, yeah. Owen eventually finds out that Mr. Walker, Bon Jovi's character, is having an affair with Dodger. And that he was also sort of having an affair with... Later they find out he was having an affair with the girl that died at the beginning. But, yeah, and she says that she was there to break it off. And here's the thing. So, I started to catch on to this a little bit. When they start showing death scenes, it really starts to kind of hit towards the end, where Owen gets everyone. Okay, so there's a prank where, so Randall says he's going up to state to visit a girl named Jenny. That's where I get the Jenny. Jenny. And, X his name. But no one is heard from. And it turns out that he never showed up, because he calls Jenny. She never showed up. Now, they never explained that phone call either. Was she in on it? Because she seemed very she wasn't faking, because she was stood up. Like, he told her he was coming, and he stood her up just for this prank, because it turns out to be a prank. But yeah, I was just saying, yeah, sort of. So, no. So he finds out that Tom's car is still in the parking lot, because Randall was taking Tom's car. But it turns out, supposedly, Mercedes took him to the bus station instead of the car. So he goes into the car to steal the car to prank Tom. Again, Tom is behind it. You know what I mean? To get him to the dance. Because he didn't want to go to the dance, he was done with it, and he runs right to the dance. So he goes to the car and he finds the killer in there. It turns out to be Mercedes, and this is where I have my first issue. They both get in trouble for this. Yeah, he gets in trouble for being chased down and pranked on by this girl. But no one else does, and they're involved. Like, Lewis admits he was involved, and Tom admits he was involved, but they're the only two that get in trouble. But everyone, I guess they all are forced to stay there instead of going anywhere for the weekend. But, they didn't take Tom's car keys, so they can just leave whenever they want. But yeah. But the reason I'm saying that it doesn't make sense to me that Owen gets attacked, that Owen gets in trouble, is because from the point of view of this cop, they are very stupid in what they tell the people at this school. Because after this, they just confess to this prank. Whereas, all they could have done is say, oh, well, she came after me on Halloween as a prank. She would get in trouble, and he'd be fine. I know he's supposedly like a bad boy student. He's getting kicked out of schools, but there's no other reason that they should get in trouble. He should get in trouble for this. Right? I'm just saying. But yeah, so now they're stuck at the school, right? And Owen's had enough. So he has them all meet in the chapel again to confess what's going on. And Lewis confesses to breaking Tom's stuff. So then well, what about Randall? Randall's not here. Well, girlfriend or whatever said that he never showed up. And then you have his car. Well, Mercedes dropped him off at the bus station. So Lewis called Mercedes to confirm this, and she's like, well, no, I didn't. I left her in town, and he said he was going to he was going to wait for the bus because it was like a few hours or whatever. And then he's like, what are you doing? You're in the shower? She's like, yeah, I'm wearing my underwear, the one you like. Take a picture. So he takes a picture, and of course, killer's going to be in the background. He's like, there's someone there. And this is where things started weird. Every time they show someone getting killed, it's shaky and grainy. And I started to realize later on that this is not, by the time we got, because there's something that happens where, well, we'll get to it, but I started to realize that there's something else going on here. So, Lewis realizes that Mercedes is in trouble, so he runs to go help her, where they call the cops. Of course, because of the previous prank, no one believes them. They need a teacher or an RA or someone. An adult, basically. And keep in mind, by this point, I'm still in the whodunit mode. So I know that Dodger is no longer there, right? Randall is still missing. And I forgot about Graham because I was under the impression he was one of the students that left because he wasn't really involved in this. I guess. So I forgot about him. So he's still there. So there's only one of 3 people. But casting Graham aside, because I forgot about him, it's only one of 2 people. It's either Randall or Dodger. And then they find Randall's body in the chapel. So that leaves Dodger. So he runs out there. They're like, okay, we're gonna get out of here. We're gonna get out of here. He goes, no, I have to go find Dodger. I have to make sure that Dodger is okay. And so this is where I thought he would call his dad, and his dad wouldn't pick up again. I thought all those scenes of his dad not picking up would lead to him getting put the voicemail again. You know what I mean? But it doesn't happen here, I guess. So he runs to the girls' dorm, and he goes in and he sees Lewis has been attacked. So he runs up and he sees that Lewis has been dragged through the doorway. Then he hears Dodger. So he hears Dodger. No, he hears. Who is it? Is it Dodger? No, it's not Dodger. He hears a noise or something. Or he runs from the killer. I don't know. He hears a noise or something and runs back outside. Oh, he hears the car starting up. He runs out because Tom tells him he has 20 minutes. And look, this is bullshit. There's no way he ran from the chapel to there to up to the stairs. He went from the chapel to in, going from the chapel to in to there, going in, seeing Lewis running up, running back down, took 20 minutes. But he left. So maybe he lied. But they leave. And so now he's on his own. So he decides he's going to break into the one building to find. He realizes that Mr. Walker's car is still there, which put another suspect on my list. So remember, I was down to Dodger now, not knowing Graham. So that put Mr. Walker on my suspect list. Although I was a little iffy about Tom too, because maybe Tom and Regina in and out together, or he killed Regina and it's gonna be Tom. You know, like I was fully prepared to believe it was Jared Padalecki, just because I know he could play a sadistic if he's done right. But you know, from Supernatural and stuff, you just see him. Born Under a Bad Sign, season 2 episode. I don't know the name, but yeah, he plays a demon. But anyway, so he breaks into this building because everything's locked, and he's trying to find Mr. Walker, and he can't. Then he goes to Mr. Walker's office, and the phone rings, and it's Dodger. And I went, "Why is she calling that phone? Something screwy is going on here." And then this is where it hit me. She's like, "Hey, why are you answering Rich's phone?" And he's like, I was in here. I don't know where he is. Well, he keeps his car keys in his drawer. Look in there. And so she's like, I can see you in the window. I said, well, I can see you. And then you see someone walking behind her, and I went, and he's looking, and I'm like, say something. He takes forever to say something to her. He's like, run. Why didn't she say something earlier? She runs, and she appears to be killed. I'll say that. So he goes to the desk to get the keys, and because he tries to get out, he can't get out. Goes to the desk to get the keys, and he finds a gun. And this is where it hit me. Because he grabs the gun, it cuts to a kill scene where he's being shot, and it's grainy and it's shaky. All these kill scenes that we've been seeing are shaky and grainy, and this is where it hit me. We're not seeing the deaths, we're seeing what he is perceiving the deaths to be like. So, I'm thinking, okay, something is up here. Well, then he hears a knock on the door. Apparently he went back, shut the door, knock on the door, or he hears a noise or whatever, and he's like, who's that? I have a gun. He's like, it's me. Mr. Walker? He's like, okay. He comes in, and he's holding the hunting suit and a mask in his hand. And I'm like, he's like, it's your gun. He's like, what? And I'm like, okay, either he is the killer and he's acting innocent to mess with him, to kind of lower his sense of security, or they're really pushing a red herring here. So it ends up in a kind of a scuffle where the gun goes off. It's one of those things where the gun goes off. They did it better in a Canadian TV show than here. Degrassi, by the way, good show. Degrassi Next Generation. There was a school shooting episode, which I want to talk Degrassi, but it's difficult. I don't know how to tackle it. All right, taking a little aside here. I don't know how to tackle those because they're very episodic. To talk about a whole season would be very confusing and try to go through all the plot lines and go through each one. That'll take forever. And there's certain episodes I want to talk about. I could do retro rewinds on. But there's also, like, the one episode I want to talk about, Time Stands Still, has context in literally throughout seasons 3 and 4 that just need to be talked about. So I don't know. Back to this. So we're supposed to think at first that Owen gets shot, but it's revealed to be Mr. Walker, and horribly done. And again, this gets me. Okay? So the rest of them just show up. Everyone's fine. It turns out that no one died. The only person that died, people, I guess, that died were the girl at the beginning and Mr. Walker. Everyone else was fine. Turns out everyone was in on it, sort of. So it was essentially Randall and Graham. And then it was Graham who attacked Mercedes and clued her in on it. And then, attacked Mercedes. Yeah, clued in on it. And then Lewis is attacked and he's clued in on it. And then the others just kind of fill in on it. Apparently it was a prank on Mercedes and Owen for getting him stuck there. Again, though, I don't think Graham was stuck. Maybe he was. I don't remember him ever being connected to this before. Randomly showing up throughout the movie. I don't know. But, yeah. And this is where we get the reveal that the janitor is her dad. And then, so Owen gets arrested, and I went, wait, what? Again, these kids are fucking stupid. Why didn't you just say, Mr. Walker, why didn't you just say that someone had been stalking them on campus? Owen broke in to call the police, and Mr. Walker was there with a gun coming after them. They had the ski mask, they had the thing. He heard about the prank, but he was the actual killer that killed the girl. But instead, no, he just takes the rap and goes to jail. Well, as it turns out, Daddy's lawyer is pretty handy because they found pictures of the girl, and so apparently it's self-defense. They think he's the killer, which if you just kind of, if this whole movie is about lying good enough to not get caught, right? And yet 2 times to implement that in your movie and didn't, because plot. The first one was so they would get in trouble and stay there instead of going to Tom's party. Okay, fine, good enough, fine, works fine, fun enough. But here, you had a chance to say, oh, he was the killer the whole time. He came after us. He was stalking us on campus. And we continued to play pranks on ourselves, on each other, but there was actually a killer here. He came after us. He didn't like the pranks, and he confronted Owen with a gun. Oh, here's a question. How'd they all get in the building? Wasn't everything locked up? Anyway, but no, he goes to jail, and he's told by Daddy that his lawyers have, talked to him and said it's going to be self-defense, and he's got probation after that. And then just a little cherry on top is, if you couldn't figure it out, which I had already had by now, they're like, oh, hey, a friend of yours is here to visit you. And it's, to no surprise, Dodger, who is crying. And she says this line. She says, if I knew that Rich was screwing, by the way, this is the unrated version, and they're saying screwing, was screwing another girl, I wouldn't have done these pranks. I wouldn't have played the game. And he went, wait, what? What'd you say? Exactly, you wouldn't. And he starts to piece the things together that she set everything up. And all this stuff, though, is just like in his head. And you think, oh, he's just putting this together like he put all the other stuff together. But then she says, like, even if I did do it, can't, and her composure changes. Couldn't prove anything. And she walks off, and I'm just like, of course it was her. Apparently she's been manipulating him since the beginning. But the whole thing is, unless she got a hold of his file, it all seems like she just bumped into him and decided, this is the guy who I'm going to put off to help me kill this guy for cheating on me. And frame this guy. I don't know. I think it would be easier just to... Wouldn't it be easier instead of all this whole complicated thing? Because she does it anyway. She plants the gun in the guy's desk. And the pictures. So wouldn't it behoove them to plant those in and then call the cops with a tip? An anonymous tip that, hey, I think this guy has been sketchy. He's been sleeping with this girl and might be the suspect. They'll go and look in the desk, find the gun, find the pictures. Boom, this guy's going to jail. Movie cop logic, right? Why go through all of this stupid bullshit, pranking and trying to put off a patsy just for this? Sure, she wanted him dead. But rotting in jail for the rest of his life for murder is another thing. I don't know. It's complicated. I am going to give this a middle of the road. It's the lowest middle of the road you can get without going into not worth your time, because I would rewatch this again. There are some bad 2000s horror movies that bear rewatching. Like this, I'll probably rewatch Shredder again. Stay Alive is another one. Just to kind of have something on the background. Darkness Falls, I can rewatch again. I wouldn't say it's bad. It's just not a great movie, but yeah. And then, like I said, I'm not doing Dice anymore. The Roommate is next, of course. So, what are your thoughts on Cry Wolf? Leave me comments below. Make sure to like, share, and subscribe. Thank you for watching. I've been Scotty, and I'll see you in the next one.